Welcome to Tailgate Talk. It's 97.3 The Game. I'm Sean Ritter, at The Real Ritter on socials. Joined in studio by Eric Tasker at Wisco Bowhunting. Of course, the entire show, you can follow us at On the Tailgate. And, of course, Tailgate Talk brought to you by friends at Buck Rub Outfitters. BuckRubArchery.com is where you check them out. There's going to be a lot of talk, I think, about the success that they've helped all of us on the show throughout the season. But when I say all of us, it can't be all of us unless I bring in the third, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Paul Wagner.
Good Lord, where you been? I thought you moved to the job in Fort Lauderdale.
Where have I been? Let's see. Do you want to play it back to spend a week at Disney? Came back, and then it turned out I caught my first batch of the C19er. So I was out then, and then I've been in the woods trying to shoot a big deer, and that's where I've been.
Yeah, real quick. I know I'll hear about it, but any luck on the recovery, or are we pass it on and we'll get them next time?
Pass it on, get him next time, which we'll talk a little bit about that in the show later on of an experience I had where now I know what Eric Tasker felt like last year.
I feel like this is Hunter's Harvest and Heartbreak 2.
Part 2. But
yes.
No, let's quick, and I know you got just a couple minutes here while you're on the road. Where are you at right now, Wags?
We're down in Galena, the Joe Davies County, Galena, Illinois again. Beautiful. But if you understand, it's weird how the Illinois gun season works compared to our Wisconsin hunting season. They have weekends, and I don't know when the second weekend ends, but the first weekend starts Friday. So it'll go November 18th through Sunday the 20th. And I'm not sure because I don't do it here. I'm not exactly sure how the rules and regs are, but down in Illinois, you definitely cannot bow hunt during the gun season, regardless of the clothing, whether you roll up in an orange pumpkin. It doesn't matter. You cannot bow hunt during the gun season.
All right. Well, you nabbed yourself a nice buck back a couple of weeks ago. How'd that whole thing go down real quick?
He came in, and the biggest the thing about it was he came off of a main trail that it's between both food plots. And real quick, I know you guys got a lot to talk about. I want to hear about Taskers. But what he did is it was early, and I don't know whether it's weather, moons. You talk to one person that says, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The rut is always the first weekend in November. Doesn't matter about temperature. You think too much about it. And then other people say there are influences. And I don't know, but this buck literally snipered right in the middle of the trail between both food plots, both exit funnel points on my food plots. And he literally sat there out of distance and out of range, and I didn't even see him, to tell you the truth. All of a sudden, I look to my right, and these does start funneling out of the food plot around 4:30, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, so this is it. I knew it. This is, I know this is how the game plays. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he pops up, and he's about maybe 25 yards from them, waiting for them to exit the food plot. And thanks to Kaz, Buck Rub, you two putting me on the Raven, the new R26, or the old R26, it did the damage. I was about 47 yards, and Kaz told me, as me and Task were talking to him, what I always say is, a crossbow, 50-yard max, compound bow, 30-yard max. And I did listen to him about that, and I was about 47, 48 yards. And, he tasted the new Raven, and he only went about 65 yards. And luckily for me, I was by myself. The girls were down in Florida, so he literally died on the path, and it couldn't have happened any better. And I got to enjoy my tenderloins by myself.
You didn't have to share with anyone. Love it.
Yeah.
I didn't
Just
have
an
to share.
absolute missile. 47 yards. That is crazy.
Yeah. And what I did with what he said is, and I know there's that whole theory and that whole story about who likes expandables and who likes fixed. I went with what one of the guys at Buck Rub had said. Put me on that fixed blade, though the cutting diameter, I believe, goes from, I'm going to make something up, like 1 7/8 to 2 inches, or 1 3/8 to 1 7/8. Very minimal in my view. I just wanted the fixed blade. I was with a fixed blade before, as we've talked. Then I went expandable. I had some issues that I thought happened, and you play mind games. Now I've gone back to the fixed blade, and I love it. So I'm a fixed blade guy from Buck Rub. The R26 Raven did its job. meat was good, and we scored him. He was a smaller buck. Remember, it was only an 8-pointer, so my H1, H2, and H3 sizes only came out to about 5 inches. Good diameter, good mass, 19 on the main beam, and about 18 on the inside spread. So I got close to it's under a 120. Under 120, but still a nice big buck and a nice heavy deer.
Well, it looked really nice hanging out there, the shot that I got of it laying on the trail. So
yeah,
congratulations on it.
Yes, thank you, boys.
That was it was fun going out there to Buck Rub and just being able to go out there and talk to Kaz for a little bit, and then I'm like, oh man, because you had sent me a message, and I was like, oh well, I'll see if I can swing by, depending on what I got going on with work, and I ended up texting you the next day, and you're like, oh no, I took it in already. And I'm like, oh okay, that's not a big deal. So then we're out at Buck Rub like 3 days later, and you're like, oh, yeah, no, I got the head out in the truck with me. I'm like, oh, well, let's go look at it. What are we doing in here?
Yeah, so Ritter, we brought your Goo Goo Dolls lead singer out there, and he got his bow fixed up, and I saw the deer that he harvested.
You know what? I did get a text message from a couple guys that day. Yeah, our friend John Resnick, Clam Pro, who's been on the show a couple times before. Funny story. We'll jump in here real quick with Rez as well. I don't know if you heard about this all this weekend. So you met and you guys were hanging out on Thursday at Buck Rub, all of you. I was the only one missing. He took that bow then this past weekend, went up north, and was just going to play around. Thought, oh, you know what? I'll do a sit after he set up his deer stand on Saturday. Saturday night, went and shot a small 6-pointer. After 15 minutes of walking to a stand that he just set up.
He sent me a picture. Beautiful. It's awesome. What a story. What a love. And that's what's going to bring him into it. He can do his fishing stuff, but now he gets that old bow restrung, recalibrated, and maybe we have a whitetail hunter on our hands again, so now we can throw another one into the pods.
Yeah, it's funny because Rez, I think it was really after I shot my buck that Rez then was like, you know what? I'm thinking about getting back into it. And then it was, I'm going to go get my bow and I'm going to go get it tuned up. And this is all from a matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he went from not even thinking about bow hunting and just getting ready to go up for gun season to getting it restrung, actually getting a sit in, and then actually making it happen.
Does that make you an influencer, Eric Tasker?
I guess. I mean, I get excited talking about bow hunting. So that's cool, though, I mean, it's awesome to see that. And for him to have not done it for a number of years and be able to get back into it, he went out, he shot a bunch of arrows, and
I can speak to that happening. I mean, that's me, kind of the same thing. Look at me. I walked away from everything. Fishing has always been my number one. Always still would be my number one passion. But I've decided to pick up the bow, and I've definitely fallen in love with it, and I really enjoy it. And I hunt a lot more. And even from last year, being the first that I truly focused on it, and that's what I was going to do. What I took away from last year put me in the places and led me to where I'm at this year. Unfortunately, things are just not shaking out for me, and I've just been crossed with bad luck. I don't know what
just
it is.
Grinding out
it
sits.
And that's just it. It's the thing of last year. I really focused on it, and I made some right moves, did some right things, and I saw a lot of deer, and I passed on a lot of deer. And this year, what I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to get at least 2 deer. I know I can do this. Now I set through. I've got a better game plan. And now, I've been through some grueling sits. I've seen a ton of deer, but I've had some terrible situations and terrible luck that's happened, which, comes down to, that buck that I did end up arrowing, speaking of luck, which, I don't really know how I want to get or how much into the story of things. But you mentioned the rut stuff, Wags. I think I can tell you that I don't think it matters in my experience. And now just looking at the last 2 years of kind of how I've seen the rut happen, temperature and things I think do play a part. But I think just time. It's just going to happen when it's going to happen. But it also isn't just only 1 week. And so I think that's where sometimes people get into that, where it's it I think definitely will start that first week in November. Yeah. But you might not see it, think it's ramped up of what you've seen until the second or third week in November. You know what I mean? But it's already been happening. You just didn't see it. And I think sometimes we get too caught up in correlating, I went out on this cold sit because I thought it was going to happen. Oh, there it did happen. See, it only happens when it gets cold. Right. But it actually was happening before that.
Or you can, to jump in there, or you can also catch that second wave. Maybe you missed the first. Maybe that dominant buck or one of those bucks cornered the doe and sat there for 24, 48 hours, and now all of a sudden you don't know, but now he's unbedded, coming around, and now you see him, so you see it sporadically. I think it's a longer time period, like you just said. Is it 2-3 weeks? Is the main estrus, do your mature does go in the first week, and then obviously our yearlings go in the first week of December? Usually it's a 30-day differential that we always look at. We always play that going into the muzzleloader season where you can get the yearlings and get them back on. But I think you're right. I think it's just a matter of time, regardless of weather, circumstances, moon phases. We all like to believe in that and like to think we can beat the system, but you know what? The only system you can beat is when that boy is ready to go attack that girl and she's ready. That's the only time. That's the only time when that female doe is ready and receptive. That's the time, and I don't think it does. I agree with you. Maybe not an influence on all those outlying factors. It just happens when it happens, and when you don't see it, but you hear other people, then you say, "Oh, it's up in the north. Now it's coming to the south. You know, now it's coming to Illinois and Iowa and Missouri. Now it's coming over here east to Kentucky." You know, maybe it just happens and you just happen to randomly catch that one coming off its first bed and going into its second.
Right. I think it's the old, if a tree falls in the forest and you don't hear it, did a tree actually fall?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I hear a lot of people talk about that too, where it's, you know, what kind of impact does weather have on it and whatever. Well, you know, I mean, it was 70 degrees most of the days that I was up north. Right. You mean to tell me that deer in the south aren't rutting when it's 70 degrees? I mean, it's all a timing thing. And it's just, you know, do some of those conditions help? I think so, for sure. Does the moon play a part in that? Yeah, I mean, I think so. But I don't know that weather being warm for a consistent period of time, if it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it doesn't matter. Oh, the deer move in the cold. Well, they move all the time. Right. So we know that
right.
we know that a deer beds. We've known this. We've talked to Kaz. We've listened to Dr. Kroll. We know what we've observed and what we've been told, that a deer beds and sleeps for 70% of the day and feeds 5 times a day. Doesn't say it beds 70% of the day in the cold, 70% in the hot, or it only feeds 5 times a day in the cold and doesn't feed 5 times in the... You know what? That's their pattern. A deer beds 70% of the day, and it feeds 5 times a day. So you know what? Regardless of what's happening, they have to sleep, they have to drink, and they have to eat.
Yep, just being in the right place at the right time. You know, I bring up the weather and bring up the whole rut thing because those headed to the woods in Wisconsin this week with the opening of gun deer season, I think it's going to be a great weekend, and it's not to do with the cold weather. I think that kind of rutting thing and that, you know, second, third week of like a solid, I think it's still on. I think you're going to have great opportunities to still see some chasing going on. You know what I mean? And I think that's something going into the weekend as a gun hunter, me not being a gun, but if you are, that I would have that confidence and feel good about it and keep your eyes peeled and don't think that, oh, they're just not moving, or, oh, it's too cold, or they're just bedded down. Like, it could happen at literally any minute. So the all-day sits, especially this first weekend here of gun deer season, I think are a great play and a great way to go about things. I know it's going to be cold. I know it is going to be miserable.
Brutal.
It is going to suck, but it will make that reward so much better if you're presented with that. And if you're not, you know what? Yes, it's going to suck, but you gave it your all. And that's my little bit of advice for what it is. You know, my minimal experience, I feel bad like even giving advice with it, but I genuinely feel that way. I think the all-day situation, even this weekend, is a great play to go with if you can stay out in that cold.
And usually exactly right. Unfortunately, and I don't know how it's worked with Thanksgiving weekends, but generally opening weekend, I don't care where you are, down in southern Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, it was always good on opening day Saturday, but you could always, almost every Sunday, you knew that there was a handful of hunters that were going to leave their stand, go to the bar, and watch the Packer game.
Yep.
So with the Packer game, now all of a sudden, wait a minute. Oh, we got bad. What? Oh, now, because I do think movement, walking, getting out of this controlled environment or lack of hunter abundance or pressure in the bow season, now all of a sudden you move into the Orange Army. And if the Orange Army is moving, I still think it's going to be cold. People still have their routines. They go to the bar, they have their bowl of chili, they have their beer, and they go back for the afternoon hunt. But I don't think with the Packer game, you know, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off the wall and people are going to stick to their routines and go back. But I think a Packer game, don't forget that. If they're not moving for the Packer game, oosh.
Yeah. I think the weather will play an equal part to what the Packer game would do. Like, I think that because it's going to be so cold, there's going to be a lot of people that are just going to be like, you know what?
And I understand that.
I don't need to be out here anymore. I'm here for the fun.
Right.
I'm here for the camaraderie. And I'm just hoping that I shoot a buck right away Saturday morning and that I can just go sit in the log cabin for a while with the fire on. But
I think there's going to be a lot of people with that mentality and that thought. And I don't want to say if it's brown, it's down, but I feel there's going to be a lot of if it's brown, it's down people, to kick off with the weather being that cold. You got a little time to hang around, Wags? I don't want to keep you too long.
I'll let you guys go. Everybody be safe, but I'm going to head back out right now, and then we're going to pack up and leave.
All right, sounds good.
All right, boys.
All right,
see you, Wags.
Thanks to our friends at Buck Herb Outfitters. I can't even talk. I can't get with this. I've got apparently the buck fever.
You're already frozen.
I'm already frozen with opening weekend. Of course, I don't gun deer hunt. However, I will be out with the bow along with the Orange Army because that's just how I roll. I still have a tag to fill, which we can get to that. I don't know. Should we save that for later? Should we go with another success story, another how your rutcation
I don't know.
went,
I don't know if we want to
Tasker?
ride it like a roller coaster, go high, low, high, or
I just don't know if I don't know if I can talk about it yet. I feel like I need more ramping up to finally finally tell the tale. But you were just gone previously and did your rutcation. Now you did yours and kind of was playing on that first week in November. I placed mine in the second week in November.
Yeah, so we kind of covered really the beginning, or what a lot of people think are that pre-rut and that lockdown kind of phase. So which was nice because we both kind of had, different weather. I mean, it seems like it doesn't matter if I hunt the week leading into October or into Halloween, or I hunt that first week after Halloween, really that first true week of November. It seems like no matter what, the last 3 years, it's been 70 degrees every day.
I had the roller coaster. See, I went from beginning of that week, it was cold.
Yeah.
And then we had those couple of 70-degree days.
God, it's just so
and then
weird.
The bottom fell out on me. So I rode the roller coaster for my rutcation week, so to speak.
Yeah, so we got up on the 28th. And so we've done 2 trips now. We did one the 15th, the weekend of the 15th of October. It was pretty slow. Couple does, no bucks. And what I had been really worried about going into this long stretch was I think I even texted you this and I said, I can't really tell you how I feel about this upcoming weekend until I pull cards and look at and see what's going on out there. Because the 3 previous weeks to that, which seems to be a trend, I don't think that's any different than anywhere else, is that, our cameras were quiet. And there were a couple deer here and there. None of our big boys were back. We've got 3 really nice bucks, and none of them were back. And we get up there, we pull cards, and we're thinking, all right, what's going to happen here? Are we going to have deer? Are we going to have a couple of those bucks that are circling back through? Well, we didn't have any of them. So it's like, well, I'm going to sit because I've got 9 days to sit up here and reflect and think about life and clear my mind and spend some time with the big man upstairs. So, we went into it thinking, okay, this is going to be the time. This is always our time. I just think back to last year. I kept track and I kept a rut report of what time was I seeing deer, what kind of deer, what direction were they coming from. I've tried to be really diligent about taking notes on that. And just for a reference, you remember it all, but exactly what time are they coming out of? Where are they coming out of? And, I intended on doing that again. So when we got up there finally on Friday, we were up there just in time to set our stands. And I wanted to make sure, we always like to do that, where we set our stands the day before. And if we get up there in time to actually spend some time, great. If not, not a big deal. And then that way it's out there. And I was going to use my camera arm so that I could actually try and record, which I'll talk about that later. So, and that's a ratchet strap. It's super loud. So I'm like, I just want to get set up and I don't have to lug all this stuff back and forth then, So Saturday we get out and it's our first day. It's the 29th. We're ramped up. We're out there early. We're out there an hour ahead of time, hour before daybreak. We're going to do all day sits all week. We're just going to try and make it happen. We've got a doe tag each and an archery buck tag for each, me and my dad. And so we've got plenty of meat to bring home with us. And, it was slow. I was fully expecting to have morning movement. And I'll say this about the entire week. We didn't see any deer before noon any day that we were out there, which was interesting. That was very uncommon because when we were up there the weekend of the 15th, I had encounters with deer before daybreak and only in the morning. So it was kind of an entire role reversal of what we had been experiencing. So we're there, and Wags kind of explained how he does his rattling and his grunts and his doe bleats last year, and I've stuck with that method now because if you remember from last year, I was planning the whole week. I was thinking, I can't wait to come back and just trash this idea of just trying to call and rattle and grunt and all that stuff.
I don't do that, and we've talked about it. I don't do that. I try and stay silent, although there's a caveat I'm going to put to that, which I'll get to in my story coming up.
Yeah. And I don't do it often. Maybe every 45 minutes or so. I'm not like an every 20 or 30 minute. It's just too much otherwise. And I say 30 to 45 minutes. It's probably more every 45 minutes, maybe even more than that, because I like to have a bunch of separation between it. If it's super quiet, it's nice because that sound will carry. And I ended up seeing two does about 1:30. So, we've got 6 hours behind us already, and it's finally like, oh, yeah, okay, this is good. We've got at least a deer out here. And they just kind of skirted around my area. The nice thing about where I'm sitting, and if you look at my Instagram, I've got a cool picture that's kind of overlooking the area that I'm, hunting.
It's at Wisco Bowhunting, by the way, the Instagram.
And it's almost too tight of quarters. Because if I see a deer, I got to grab my bow right away. The farthest that I have is probably 55 yards, or maybe, looking through some of the windows, it might be 60 or 70 yards, but I wouldn't take a bow shot through there. But they're on top of me if I see them. If they come out of the wrong spot, they're 20 yards.
It's kind of like a lot of what I hunt. I hunt thick stuff, and I hunt with not a lot to work around that, which is why everything usually is in my lap all the time.
Right. And it's a little bit of a scramble, Even if you're not filming, or even if you have your bow in hand or bow on your lap or whatever, it's still a scramble. And, my dad had not seen anything. And it's like, I just feel bad because it's like, it feels like where I'm at, we're 150 yards apart and there's not much room in between us, but it seems like wherever I'm at is more of a funnel for them. So I'm really happy about that. 1:30, I finally see two does, and then I couldn't get them to come in. I was totally ready to take a doe. I was totally fine with that. I just wanted to get a deer on the ground and kind of get that monkey off the back. And just kind of skirted around, which kind of felt like a theme after the rest of that Saturday, was just that they were never really in my range. And so I just got back to, I let them get through. I sat for about an hour, and then I just thought, I'm going to just start rattling. I'm going to do my little rattle grunt sequence and just see what happens. So I start doing that about 3:00. I'm thinking, all right, this is kind of getting to be the best time of the day. If we're going to see deer in the afternoon, we're going to start seeing them any minute now. And the last time that I rattled for the day was 5:15, because, it was shooting light was like, I don't know, it was before daylight saving. So maybe we'll say it was 6:10. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to rattle, and then 25 minutes from now or 35 minutes from now, something comes out, and I'm not going to, I may have a sketchy shot. So 5:15, I do that, and all of a sudden I'm looking out, and it's like 20 minutes later, it was 5:35, And from one of the longest viewpoints that I have, I see a nice big deer come out. I grab my binos. I see that's a big rack. And I'm like, I don't care what deer it is. I'm shooting that deer. I just knew right away. I didn't care which one it was, but I knew that if he was going to continue walking on that path, which would have skirted right around all of our cameras, that I guess that kind of makes sense. You know, if there's the two crossing paths that we've had are outside of camera range. They're not, the cameras that we have set up in that area are not facing right where they are.
So that's
where
something
those
people
crossing paths
think
were.
about exactly that. If you got cameras and suddenly you stop seeing, I think that sometimes the confidence goes away. They're not there anymore. They're not here, but they just might be skirting around it, which is where I don't.
Dude, it's a mind
I don't
game.
even do the
It's a mind
cameras
game.
because I don't want that. I would rather take the risk and do what I think they're doing. I would rather play it. And maybe I'm lying to myself, but I'd rather lie to myself about what's happening because it's going to give me more confidence.
Right.
Than, like you were saying, you're like,
Sure.
I don't know if I'm going to get anything. Everything's silent. There's,
Right.
like, would you say your confidence was not as high once you realized you didn't have pictures of anything on camera versus if you did have lots of pictures on camera?
Yeah, I felt terrible about everything because I thought it was too warm.
It just
we
something to think about.
were right in the middle of the moon phase, so I'm thinking, okay, this is probably not playing in our favor, and we didn't see anything on camera. So here I am going in being a Debbie Downer, just thinking we're going to get these sits in. We're just going to see what happens. You know, you never know. They're probably running. It's got to be close to the rut, or it's at least pre-rut. You know, so I expect them to be moving. So the first time I saw this deer was 65 to 67 yards through thick stuff. And like I said, all I could see was just a mondo rack. And I'm thinking,
that was me last year.
I've
with the big
never
one I saw.
seen a deer this big in the woods before. So, and I guess I can't say that. Maybe the one that I shot last year was this size. I don't think so, though. So he's working right along this, like kind of sticking just outside of where I really felt comfortable. I've got like these tall oaks and then, you know, big kind of open forest area in front of me. And then just maybe 30 or I'd say 45 yards straight out from me is like a big group of small pines. And they like to work off of that. And I just see them kind of coming in. And of course, I'm going through panic mode where I'm like, okay, do your checklist. This is what you got to get done. Turn around, turn your camera on. Wait a second, hit the record button. Okay. Which I realize now, because I just got the GoPro 9, the Hero 9. It's like a 2-second delay before you can hit and turn it on from sleep mode or whatever
Right.
to actually recording.
Correct.
So I go through that. I do that. I pick up my bow and I've got my rangefinder and I'm just ranging. I probably ranged 30 different spots to think, where am I going to have my best opportunity to shoot? Well, he kept skirting around with all of these little, really, really, you know, I don't know, I guess like elementary little trees that were there. And I'm thinking, I could feed it through one of these lanes, but
It's going to be a tight fit and, you know.
now I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't want my dad to shoot this buck. I'm trying to shoot this buck. And it was actually walking right to where my dad was. So I finally see two openings, which would have been my very last two openings. They were like literally, I had branches that were just maybe 10 feet in front of me that I had a 1-foot window. And I knew if that deer stopped right there, that's where I'm shooting. Well, we've got our floating pin. You and I have the same sight. Yeah. So I have a 20, and then I actually had it set at 40 because I'm thinking that's where my distance is going to be. So I ranged and I finally shot that one spot there, and I thought, okay, last year I was off, so I'm trying to be very confident in what I think this deer is going to be at, and I think he was at 38 yards. Now that's a poke. I mean, that's not a short bow shot.
That's probably about at the max that you know.
And I don't know if I want to shoot farther than that, but what I do want to do is shoot more longer distance next year. He walks and he stops exactly in the last opening that I have. I didn't have to do anything. And I thought to myself, this is it. Breathe and just pull the trigger. You know you've been shooting enough this off season and this summer leading into it. You have the confidence in what you can do. Make sure you put the pin in the right spot. So I'm thinking, okay, 38 yards, maybe it might be just a hair short of that. So if I've got a 40-yard pin, I ended up actually putting my 40-yard pin just a little low, thinking, if anything, he's closer than what I think he is.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, I'll be safer if I'm just a little low. So I was able to squeeze the trigger, and all you heard was, and then I scream, F yeah, as loud as I possibly can. And my dad and I have walkie-talkies because my dad, he's old school. He doesn't have a cell phone, so we just check in with each other like every 2 hours out in the woods. So our thing is if we hear something...
Not communicating about animals at all, just welfare checking, making sure everyone's alive and everyone's okay.
Right, because he doesn't do cell phones.
Okay, just wanted to be clear because I would want to make sure no one's doing anything illegal.
That's correct.
Okay.
I know, which seems like so weird because I do feel weird saying that because that's not what we're doing. There's no way that I could actually... message him, whatever. So he gets on the walkie-talkie then, and he's like, what happened? And I'm like, I just shot the biggest buck I've ever seen in my life. And he's like, well, all I heard was the huge thud, and then you scream F yeah really loud over there. So I knew something happened. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do here now? It's like 5:40, 5:45 maybe at the latest. We're getting close to dark. I think I put a great shot on this deer. I thought, if anything, it might be a hair high, but I also know that I'm on a good angle, so it would have had a really good exit wound. So he says, okay, what are you going to do? And I said, all right, I just want to go look at my arrow before I do anything else. I could hear the deer run off, and I could hear it kind of crash, and I couldn't tell if it was stumbling or what it was doing. So I get down, I look at the blood, and, before I got out of the tree, I turn around, I look at my GoPro because I thought I had everything on camera, and I'm like bawling already because I am so jacked. I knew it happened. I knew this was the time that it was finally going to come together. And, so I'm like recording and I'm like, I got it done. I'm so jacked right now. We're going to go look for the arrow. Push the record button again to stop recording.
And nothing was there.
And I put the GoPro in my pocket. So we get down, I go walk over, and my dad is out of his ground blind and he's kind of walking over towards me now. And there's blood everywhere. And there was so much blood on the arrow, it was like dripping off of it, which I had never seen that before. I mean, I was amazed with how much there actually was there. So I was very confident at that point. So my dad says, I could hear him crash. Do you want to just start walking the path right now? And I'm thinking, okay, sure. So I pull the GoPro out of my pocket. I hit record again. We start on the path, and we're maybe 40, max 50 yards into tracking this deer. And my dad, I was worried that if we had to call a dog in, I didn't want to be on the blood trail. And it was like shooting out of both sides. So it's like, where do you even walk at that point? Because it's just everywhere. So I turn around and I say, please, I'm like, of course, anxiety through the roof. I'm like, stop walking on the blood trail. Like, I just turned around and I yelled at my dad about it. When I said that, it was quiet. I thought I heard something crash again through the woods. So I'm thinking, I'm not doing this again. Let's just back out. Let's get out of here. I don't know if that was my deer or not. Let's just get out of here. Let's go have a couple drinks. We'll come back first thing in the morning. Because last year, we kicked that deer up, I'm sure twice at least, and it never was found. So we get out. I had a number of drinks that night, and my dad wakes me up at 8:15 the next morning, and he's like, it's 8:15. Are you ever going to get up to go look for this deer? I'm thinking, yeah, but I'm like, also, if it's dead, it's dead. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
So we ended up getting back on the blood trail, and we went another 20 yards, and the deer was piled up right there. And it was like the most overwhelming, I would say overwhelming more than anything. It was so overwhelming for me because the last 2 years I've shot bucks, and I knew I put a bad shot on the first one. I thought I put a really good shot on the one last year. And for it to all finally come together, it was everything that I had hoped for. So, of course, I FaceTime you out in the woods.
Yep.
I FaceTime Sherry out in the woods. And my dad's like, are you ever going to get off the phone so we could gut this thing? And
my favorite of all of them, though, was that night after it happened, after you were backing out. And we were having a discussion a little bit about that, and to FaceTime you and to see the emotion on you was really cool.
It was a lot.
You were concerned with the blood, and that's what I remember saying to you. Well, I mean, if you gut shot it, you'd smell it. So smell it. And then you smell the air. You're like, nope. I'm like, yeah, you got it. Just you're making the right call. Back out. It's dead.
Just get out of there.
Yep.
You know, I mean, and there's wolves and there's coyotes up there, so it was a concern. But it just, I don't know, man. It felt like there were so many things that I've encountered over the last couple of years. I mean, I bet I've missed 10 nice deer in the 13 years that I've been hunting, whether that's just bad shots from rifle that I just missed, or, the 2 bucks that I've shot in the last couple of years that I never found. Man, it's just, I mean, I've been telling you this now this past week and a half, is that it's like, I don't know, man, it's so hard. And when it finally comes together, man, it's so overwhelming. It's so spiritual. It's such a primal thing to be able to go back, and it's not a firearm.
Right.
It's you outsmarting that deer. And I mean, this is way longer than it ever needed to be, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, there's nothing like it. And for my dad to be there, oh man, I'm going to start crying again.
That's just it. It's an emotional thing, and I realize there's people may be listening to this or hear it's that I've shot hundreds of deer and it's 200 inch, blah, 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 oh, what do you? But no, like, we on this show have never been the people that have been like, oh, we're professionals or whatever. And the whole point of this show and the whole name of it, Tailgate Talk, is it's just telling stories and BSing with family and friends. And that's what we do every single week on the show. Yeah, we've had stuff where we've talked to, we had Gussie on us and we're talking about fishing, and Allie Doran talking about, cooking event. And we've had other people, other professionals, we'll call them, on talking with us about things. But the general purpose of the show is exactly what's happening right now. Is just retelling the story and showing the emotion, because there are people that have never experienced that. And your experience, to hear it, to then know to expect that could happen, and it's okay to just embrace that. And I think that's the coolest part about this message and having this show and this platform or whatever is, I don't want to say, yeah, we're not talking to you, I'm a professional hunter. But kind of, we're not talking to you, I'm a professional hunter. We're just talking to everybody and sharing these stories and hearing you retell the story and seeing the emotion again just come back. That's what's freaking awesome about it. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
That's what makes the outdoors and sharing it with other people really freaking cool.
Yeah.
And like you said, to have your dad there, to have those experiences, it's really cool, because as much as you'll remember everything about that deer and retelling exactly how it happened as you just did, it's the fact that you were there with your dad that's really freaking cool. And that will probably, I think, still stand out to you bigger than anything going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just, so I was leading on the blood trail, and when I actually finally found the deer, I actually had my GoPro and I was up and running with it. So it was cool to be able to capture our reaction together.
Love that video. It's on your Instagram too.
I know.
At Wisco Bowhunting. I think I know I shared it on ours as well. It's on the tailgate, by the way, to follow us.
And
you want to take a break? We can take a break. You can regather.
I just have one real quick thing. So I just remember watching that back, and I mean, of course, being able to relive that memory with my dad forever is just amazing. But I knew he said something when we walked up on the deer, but when I listened to that back, and I know I sent you this clip, was you can hear my dad in the background when he's walking up to catch up to where I am, shout, "Oh my God, Eric, what did you do?" And it's like, that's just so cool. Mm-hmm. Man. I love that. All right, that's all I got. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and stop crying.
All right. By the way, and it's a beautiful deer. Pictures on our Instagram at On the Tailgate, or again, check out at Wisco Bowhunting for that. What a great story! Thank you for sharing, Tasker, your big buck kill back. What was the date that you shot your buck?
10/29.
10/29. So it was before November 1st that you had got yours.
I've always wanted to shoot a buck on Halloween.
Yeah.
So, but
if you want to see a picture of that buck and Wags, who also harvested as well here in Wisconsin with his bow, both of those are up on our socials at On the Tailgate. That's On the Tailgate on Instagram. I'm at The Real Ritter, as in Fishing Reel, at Wisco Bowhunting is Eric Tasker. And so we're talking about it through most of the show that I had a story that I had to tell. I guess it's my turn now. Now that I've got to hear an amazing, harrowing story, and there was everything there. By the way, Tasker, there was ups, there was downs, there was crying, there was cheering, there was a big F you or F yeah. There was a lot that happened in your story.
There was a lot.
Thanks for bringing it.
Man,
when everyone tells a story, and especially when it's like a harvest of an animal, would you agree that for some reason you have this uncanny ability to remember every single detail of everything that led up to it?
Yeah.
And
I know,
that's
it's weird.
A big... It's just amazing how it can work out. And so I'm going to try and keep it as fast as I can, but give out every single detail that led up to my situation, because I think there's a message to come from the story. I've been trying to find a positive out of this whole situation. So real quick, I arrowed a buck on November 11th. Fun fact, that's also Veterans Day, Armistice Day. For some reason, even thinking back to my duck hunting days, November 11th was always one of my best days.
Was it?
We would crush birds on November 11th.
My dad is really lucky on Thanksgiving.
And so it was just weird that this happened. But anyway, I'm going to set the stage of everything that happened. So I had been in a situation, you hunt and have hunted with me in the area that I hunt a lot. I normally kind of hunt back at a smaller area. It's a little thicker. There's a lot of kind of movement in and around the areas. If you pinch point type situations, I encountered a guy out there on the day before that was leaving a stand, which we'll get into the legality of that, whatever. But either he didn't give me a for sure yes or no when he was coming back or what was going on. I was just like, then I'm out of here. I'm not even dealing with this. I'm going to go somewhere else, because I also know, again, I'm about observation and movement, everything that's happening. I know where deer were going, where they're funneling to. Well, I know there's also this really cool oak flat on this parcel of private property. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to set up on that oak flat because it's going to give me some visibility. I'm going to have some terrain feature that's going to help me out here. And if this guy or someone else goes back in this area, which last year never encountered another person. So it's weird that suddenly this year I've now actually encountered people in the area on this piece but anyway, I thought, it's going to funnel everything towards me. I know where there's some nice doe bedding. I know where there's actually a decent area of buck bedding that's pretty close to this. I'm figuring if they're going to go from here to a swamp area, they're going to funnel through this. Or if there's bucks cruising, there's a good chance they might cruise through this. I'm always out there an hour before shooting lights. So what shooting lights will say I think it was like 6:10 or 6:12, whatever it was that day.
Yeah.
I'm like walking into the woods at 4:30 in the morning. I'm in my tree, like climb, sitting, all set to go. That day at, I think it was 5:03.
Yeah.
I looked and watched. Like, I am real early because I'm a big believer in just getting there and just letting everything settle. If I'm going to make any noise, I'd rather do it in the darkness. I'd rather whatever. I've also become a person that's, again, I understand lights, whatever, but if it's too dark, I'll like headlamp in, and as soon as I get to the base of the tree, everything goes off and I'll just do it in the dark.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough ambient light. I can set my climbing sticks, and I've done it enough times. I'm pretty proficient at going up with it. So I've got my system, that works pretty well. I can get up the tree.
Especially if you're looking upward.
Right, exactly.
As you're climbing.
So I'm up there, I'm all set in. And as I'm sitting there, it gets to be about a half hour before shooting light's going to come. And I notice off that direction, typically where I hunt, a flashlight far in the distance coming down kind of a hill. So quick to play up my oak flat that I'm on. I've got a big ridge that's directly behind me, and then there's that flat, and then I look out in front of me, there's another ridge like almost straight down.
Yeah.
So I've got two amazing terrain features where if they're going to travel, I don't feel they're going to travel on the ridges or even on the sides. They're going to travel that oak flat. They're going to run across that flat, and then they can use that, to whatever. Well, I catch and hear some deer kind of take off, and because you can hear them walking in the woods a little bit when it's that silent and that dark. And I'm like, okay, well, as long as he doesn't come over here, and he kind of keeps walking down, I'm like, that's fine, whatever. Well, then I noticed another light. It seemed like way off out in front of me on some trail or something. So this is way over on the other side of that ridge. Well, I can just see slightly, with the leaves and everything there, I see 2 deer come up and pop up out of this ridge and stand there. And they slowly kind of walk away, and then I kind of lose it to the darkness. But just in that small window, I could really see it. And about 30 seconds later, another comes up, and all I hear is like a dog. It's like sniffing. And I'm like, okay, I think it's on. That's got to be a buck following 2 does.
Right.
Because what else?
Hot on a trail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, a doe, you're not going to hear sniffing like that so much. And then about, 5 minutes or so later, the ridge behind me, there's another one that comes walking in behind me, probably 10 yards, like right below me. Well, the way I'm set up here also is the wind is directly coming in my face. So the wind is coming like over the flat and pushing into the ridge that's behind me that goes up. Well, I'm also 20 feet in the air. So I'm figuring anything that's down on that flat, my scent is directly blowing right over the top.
Right.
So I'm complete, and then from every other direction, the wind is blowing. So I'm complete, they're never going to smell me, never know I'm here. I had the perfect set. That's why I sat there on purpose. I, kind of played it out, played the wind, played the pressure that I thought I could get from other people. I already know there's deer moving around. This is great. So it gets to be light, nothing. And about 7 o'clock, a doe comes in. And it's a good big doe.
Yeah.
And I kind of catch her. She comes walking like right up towards me. And I'm thinking, you know what? People have shot does and then shot a buck right after that. All right. And I'm like, if she gives me like, I can't possibly pass on this, I'm going to take it because I haven't filled the tag yet.
Right.
I haven't done it. So she comes up. It's probably, I know she was within 20 yards. I mean, it was probably 10, 12 yards, something. She's right there. And I'm like, all right, I got to shoot this doe. You know what? If nothing else, put some meat in the freezer. We can come back the rest of the weekend. This is on Friday. So I pull back and I've set her and I think I've got a perfect shot. And I squeeze and I said, like under my breath to myself, laced her. Because she's like right there, and I see right where she was standing, the arrow was direct standing, poked right in the ground where she was standing. And she had just like jumped and ran off, and then she like stopped for a second and stood there. And I was like, she's going to tip over right here.
Make it really easy.
Right. And then she stepped back a little bit more and got up to 60 yards and was staring and like looking and trying to figure out what I'm like. Then thinking, what the hell happened? How did I miss, like, what?
And you've got plenty of daylight at this point in time,
Right, 7 o'clock in the morning. It's
Yeah.
basically bright light. And I happened to have this little branch that came out. It was like a tree that bent over that was like right out in front of me.
Yeah.
I swear I was over this branch, but I noticed like a little slice, like a nick, like like when a tree is like all like dark green brown, and suddenly you cut into it and it's that light tan.
Yeah.
You notice that out of nowhere,
and
I'm
like the lime green around the bark. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Did I just lightly nick? How did that happen?
Oh,
that has what happened. Was my arrow just somehow barely grazed it, and when it did that, it shot straight down, and I think my fletching hit her on her side. Like that's how close. Like that's what I was like. I hit this doe.
God, that's so frustrating.
Right. And so, what's your next thought? Is it's so easy to get frustrated and be like, this sucks. This, I think back to opening day. I had that miss when I bumped my elbow to the tree and I, did it. So it's really easy to fall down that tunnel. And this is where I think back to being an angler. And I told my story about, that last tournament that I fished in the Winnebago Wolf River system. And it was like just next cast. I literally said to myself after this doe stood out there and blew at me and then took off running, I just had to sit down and I go, all right. My first thought was, I'm not telling a soul that this happened. I'm not texting, I'm not telling anyone that this happened. This didn't happen. And I'm like, next cast. So I continue to sit there, and about 15 minutes later, I see something else cutting across. I'm like, what? Holy cow! It's a big coyote. Beautiful tail. It was at like probably 75 yards, but just cutting right across. I was like, okay, that was kind of cool, but whatever.
Yeah.
No more than 10 minutes after that coyote ran through, I also catch in the same area, kind of walking along, another deer, but the posturing's different. I noticed that it's like got its face down as it's walking. Doe with the face down typically is going to stop more. And I'm like, I think that's a buck. That's got to be and then I kind of catch him like, that's a big buck. And that's a pretty big rack on it. And I'm like thinking to myself, okay, what do I do? I'm like, screw the binos, don't need it, whatever. Well, I had learned last year. Remember I talked about the big buck that I saw? I wished I had a grunt tube.
Yep.
I actually did happen to have my grunt tube just tucked into my, like, with my bino harness with the straps come up, just kind of resting in there. So I could, like, lean down just my mouth and go, oh.
What a great
moving.
spot to have.
Exactly. It's perfect. So if you wear a bino harness, specifically the Vortex, and you can, so I do the Woodhaven Intimidator as my, so I've got the, the snort wheeze thing on top and then the grunt tube. So it, like, perfectly just holds there. It's great. And I'm like, just going to focus on my rangefinder. So I reached back. And the other thing with this doe, too, is I was sitting when I shot.
Okay.
So I'm like changing it up. I'm standing, making sure I'm definitely getting well of it, but this is never happening again. So I kind of reached to grab my bow, and I got my bow in my left hand, and I've got my rangefinder right hand, and I'm like, I'm just going to watch it monocular. And with the Vortex rangefinder that I have, you can just hold down and keep on a target.
Because it's got the scan function.
It'll keep scanning and changing. And so I'm watching it closer. I'm like, it's coming in at me. And I catch it. Sorry, I got to back up. It walks across towards the edge of that ridge that's out in front of me. And where those deer originally came up early in the morning, when I noticed that they came up, walked away, and I heard the one come up behind smelling, it was about to dip right back down in that exact spot. And that's when I went, spun on a dime and faced directly at me. Nose went down.
Isn't that amazing?
And then started following the trail of the doe that I missed 20 minutes prior, her exact footprints, sniffing and followed directly back to right in front of me.
That is wild.
And at that point, I'm watching, and once the rangefinder got inside 20, I was like, forget it, I don't need it, and I just slowly dropped the rangefinder, lock on, and pull back, and just followed it and watched. And I was at full draw watching it for probably 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, and it stops right in front of me. Probably was at, I'm going to call it 18 yards, just given the up in the air and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, get a good shot on it. You got this. Put the pin, what I thought was a perfect double lung, maybe into some liver. I'm like, because I didn't want to shoot too far forward, so I kind of went back just a bit. You know what I mean? Like I just with the angle that I had and stuff, I'm like, okay, this is a perfect shot. And I release, and I see the arrow flying, and I hear just a hard smack, crash, like thud type sound, and the deer jumps and takes off running, and as it takes off, I realize there's about 20 inches of my arrow still sticking out of this deer, and that's when I panic. And I'm going, how did that not clean pass through? What happened? And I watch, and that happens in my head as I'm watching it run off. And I also know, keep track of where it's going, follow its track, know exactly where it is.
Yeah.
And I watched it catch a tree. The arrow caught a tree. It broke the arrow off, which spun around the tree, and then it shot upwards and went like up that ridge behind me, like way down away from me. And so I watched, and I knew where it went, and I marked it. And that's when I text my wife, and I text you guys. I'm like, I just shot a big buck. At the time, also, I said I think I shot a 6-pointer because I saw 6. Well, later on, I'm a dummy. He didn't think about broadtines too. Like later, as I replayed him out, I'm like, oh wait, that was an 8-pointer. I shot a really good, because that's what was weird. It's like, I mean, even if it's a 6-pointer, that was a huge body deer. Sure. So in my mind, I'm like, I don't care if it's a 6. That's a great sized deer. Yeah. I'm arrowing that deer. And I know this has already went on longer than it probably should, but you had the lesson of the grunt tube. You had the lesson of being able to grunt him back. I'm not a good caller, but that was the one just to kind of spin it. So my wife FaceTimes me, and she's like, oh, that's great. But I'm like, I'm not going to get too excited yet. I can't get excited until I touch it, because I learned from your lesson last year and thinking about that. And I just, again, knowing the arrow. But I still thought it was a fantastic shot. And I keep still replaying it back to this day. I still maintain that was a good shot. I don't know what went wrong, and I don't know what happened. The only thing I can think is it had to be a shoulder or a rib, because then eventually, I slowly backed out of the tree after about a half hour, 45 minutes, went all the way back to my vehicle, complete opposite direction, nowhere near where the deer was or where it ran to. And then that's when you met me. I grabbed the sled just in case, and like, well, let's go walk back and at least find the arrow. Let's see what we can do if we have a legit shot to try and track this thing eventually, because it seemed like such a great shot. And when there was no blood at the site, no blood anywhere, and we basically had a grid just to find the arrow. Yeah. Finally found the arrow. And there's blood on the arrow, blood and hair and everything all over the arrow, but then nothing beyond that.
It was the most bizarre thing.
Yeah, this was so weird. And that's when I said, okay, back out. We're calling a dog. We got to do it, which eventually I got on the phone with Scott Gagliano. He's got his dog Max, which is Max's Deer Recovery. Follow him on Facebook. We're going to get Scott on the show to talk about
I'm pumped for that.
Deer tracking and the conversation that him and I had while out tracking that night It was a great conversation. I've always wanted to watch a dog work on a scent trail. And it was really impressive to do it. I just wished I would have been able to watch it not on my own deer and to have to go through that roller coaster of things.
I think that was the sentence that you kept saying over and over and over again to me, is that I know I've got a deer or a dog that can come out and help me look for this. I always wanted to experience this. I didn't want it to be my deer.
Right. And Scott has got some great advice, some great stuff. And that's why, again, we're going to get him on a show pretty soon to talk about these things. And even if it seems late on this season, there's a lot that you're going to be able to learn going to next year from his experience in tracks and all this stuff. Great dude. So look forward to that coming really soon. But rib, or somehow, some way, it must have moved, done something at the shot that it just lightly ricocheted on the edge of the shoulder blade, and who knows what could happen. But after measuring out what was left of broken off arrow, knowing how long my arrows are with the broad, there's 11, 12 inches of arrow that went into that deer. Yeah. And you'd think that on that placement and that good of a shot, unless somehow it hit and turned, twisted, did something strange, these animals are tough as hell. And the fact that we went out, Scott and I, and we did a few laps through, we had followed the original trail, and okay, and his dog kind of seemed to get a little squirrely and kind of lose it and started air scenting instead of scenting in the ground.
Okay.
So all right, well, let's go back to a spot that I know he definitely pinged it hard. So we circle back around, and he follows the exact same spot again a second time until he gets to this spot, it kind of loses again. And we're okay, well, let's go all the way back to the hit site.
Sure.
So we track all the way back now. Follows up, takes a slightly different path to get up, but then gets on this one trail, and again, bing, 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 hits all these same exact points.
Wow.
He was nailing this deer, and it was great. But then we get to another point where we get on the edge of the private property, public land border. And I'm on OnX looking, and this is a piece of property that's just owned. There's no house. There's no nothing to it. It's completely landlocked, and it's a trust of someone not even in state.
Oh, man.
So is there a chance that deer could have went onto that property, went there? The fact that we never found blood on the entire trail and could only find scent, fat, meat, arrow, something plugged that hole. And I would have thought that maybe it went in one side and was sticking out the other a little bit. It must not have. It buried there. And I can tell you from experience of processing deer and growing up around processing deer, I have found lots of deer shot during gun season that had arrows inside of them. They're tough-ass animals. And so after talking with you, a few other people, after talking with Scott, I do truly believe something weird happened. Angles are weird. I'm 20 foot up on a tree, 18 yards as it is for me, but at that weird angle, again, that's where it was coming in. It looked perfect. Did it clip rib? And that because of the angle, it caused the arrow to turn slightly, whatever. I think that deer lived. And so that's why I decided I'm going to keep hunting. And I want to try and encounter that same deer again because I want, I shot it. I injured it.
You want redemption.
And it's not even about a hero shot. And I posted that on my Instagram as I sat for the first 36 hours afterwards trying to piece it together. It's not about having this hero shot buck. Because I'll even say the rack, it's not a super thick rack. It's big, but it's kind of that thinner, but it's an 8-pointer, and it's a huge-bodied deer. It has nothing to do with the rack. It has to do with the fact that I shot this deer, and this deer had to go off and has to live with an injury that I gave it for no reason.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just the hippie, care about nature person that I am. That's what I struggle with so much, is that this happened. And that's why I feel like I need to do my duty and unalive the animal because I injured. I tried to unalive it, and I failed, and now it's injured with that. That's the part that sucks. I do think it lived, so I'm going to keep hunting on. Will I see that deer ever again this season? I don't know. If there's something else that presents itself with me in that moment, do I pass on it, still waiting on this one, or do I just chalk it up? I guess that'll be a decision I'll make in that moment. But right now I feel like I'm confident enough that deer lived that if I were to arrow a different deer, I still feel that deer lived and it'll be okay. Or someone else could, harvest that deer. But that was a roller coaster. That whole day of going from shooting and having this weird scenario. And I even said to my wife at one point, Of course, it's never that easy. Nothing in my life, it's not easy. Nothing happens easy. It's always met with a struggle, with a roller coaster, with something. But the whole tale of how that day went, damn, it would have been great to have recovered that deer because of all of the things that I fought through, even in that day, mentally, to put myself in that spot. And to think about all the little decisions. The fact that earlier in the morning, I decided to grab my grunt tube and just rest it there on my heart. I'm always going to do that now. And I've never been a caller, so I'm not focused on it. I have a rattle sack thing that I keep in my bag. Like, it's just like a tool. I've never used it. Yeah. And I can't think of a time to use it because I'm afraid to, basically. Yeah. On public land, I'm waiting for some other person to make all the noise, and I'm just going to sit there silent.
Play the symphony of
calls. That's my play of why I'm usually silent. But the fact that I made all these weird little decisions, that I decided to leave the area that I typically hunt and I know a ton about and know a ton of movements, and I wanted to go set up in this other area that I know a little bit because I felt like everything was was falling into place for that to be a great spot. And damn, it was. All these little decisions made up for that great moment, which still was a failure. But resilience is the story that I have to share with that. Because from that weird, random missing a doe earlier from this branch that it came out of nowhere type thing.
Yeah.
To have the mental ability to fight through that and not get down and not let it get to me, to just stick it out and then have that next chance come. Still have something weird happen there. But what was it, 2 days later? Because that was Friday. I didn't hunt Saturday, and I was back in the woods right away Sunday morning. Didn't see a thing. Everything was silent. But I was in it. I'm still in it. And I'm still committed to doing that. Because that's just it. It's the resiliency. Don't let something get you down and ruin you. Yes, it's crushing me, and I'm still replaying that scenario, that shot through my head over and over again. And every time I see it, I'm more and more puzzled as to what the hell happened.
Yeah. It's frustrating, man. I mean, you know my favorite saying, bow hunting is so damn hard. It's just everything has to go right.
Right.
And it's I would say that's got to be your best day ever bow hunting. I mean, it didn't end the way that you wanted it
I've seen more deer. I've seen so many more deer in the woods. I've been in close encounters with a lot more deer at the time. But those specific little things, that whole tale, that whole story, right down to that coyote.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my best day bow hunting.
And 2 shots. I mean,
right. I threw 2 arrows that day.
It's just so, and it's.
And it's not that I'm a terrible shot. You've shot with me, and we've shot 3. And I not that I'm incompetent. That's the part that's so frustrating. Is like, that's why I want to tell the story too, and I want to tell these failures because I think there's a lot of people that it happens to that they're too afraid to talk about it because someone's going to shame them, or they're going to feel incompetent, or they're going to feel bad because they messed up the shot. They screwed up on a big buck. Tell the tale. Everybody does it. You're not human if you haven't done it and you don't do it. And I'll put my neck out there, and I'll be the one to say, yes, I did. I screwed the pooch on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've got that story, I mean, I just have to give you credit, man, because, A, you're not giving up on it, but B, it was like 2 weeks for me to get back out and bow hunt again after we lost that deer last year. It's such a heartbreaking and miserable kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And
if you've never experienced
the only way to cure it is to get back out there and make it happen.
Yep.
It's the only way you're ever going to get over it.
Right.
And if you let that sit until the next season, that's a long time to just dwell on your self-pity. Just get out there and just put some sits in. I made a video about it and posted it.
I saw that on, I think it was your TikTok or something.
Yeah. My first thing is, go, as soon as you realize that you've given up on trailing this deer and that you think the deer is alive, go home and shoot like 25 or 50 shots, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Because the first thing you're going to think of when you get back out in the woods again is, I'm a terrible shot. What happened?
Right? How easy been?
Why did I not make that shot happen?
The doe that I said under my breath laced it.
Yeah.
And then didn't. Again, that would have been a great opportunity. You know what? I will say I did do one thing. After the doe had walked off, I did go back and grab my bow. When she was looking at me, I re-knocked an arrow. But I had set my bow down and she walked away. I grabbed my bow again and I just put on, and I just drew. And it just did a draw just to without thinking what I was doing, just draw. And then I stopped and I thought about where I was anchored and what was it. And I'm like, no, I'm on. I did this right. I'm okay.
Yeah.
That was like a confidence of like, because then you start thinking like, did I do a bad anchor? Was I off with something? But that's how I clipped this. How did that? You play your scenarios, and it's like, no, now was the confidence of, no, I'm good. I got this. I know I can do this. Next cast.
Yeah, man. It's a learning experience, and it's just such a roller coaster. But like I said, I think, we were texting that next day or whenever it was, bow hunting is a sport that, I don't know, this show is going to be titled Roller Coaster or something, because we keep talking about it. The highs and the lows of bow hunting are so far on both sides of the spectrum, and if you're hitting that low point, that somewhere down the tracks, that highest of highs is coming, and it's just a matter of time of just getting out there and doing it again. And it's like, that was all of my emotion, and I just keep saying it was overwhelming, to finally be able to get that monkey off my back. And it was such a beautiful deer, and so I know that that's going to happen for you. You've just put in so much time.
And I don't even care if it's not a beautiful, you know what I mean? Again,
deer.
It's not about the rack. To me, it's about outsmarting the animal. I enjoy the game. I enjoy playing chess and all the little pieces. Like if you listen back and listen carefully, everything I say, or you've listened to the show enough, I think that stands out, which is why I'm such a map nerd and all these sorts of things. I'm always playing the game, trying to figure things out. I love the puzzle.
Right.
I love the puzzle, and that's why I love it. I also love the taste of venison. That's where I don't care if it's a doe or I don't.
We all?
I still I
I didn't bring the heart in for you.
Oh,
dang it! Oh man, Sherry just said something to me this week. She was putting something in the freezer, and she's like, "Can you get this thing out of here already?" I'm like, "Don't worry, I'm going to take it in."
A picture of the heart, and you're like, "What'd you say?" Something like, "Oh, I suppose you want this." I'm like, "Well, you should eat it, but don't waste it. I will eat that heart."
Oh, I forgot about that. Shoot.
Maybe that's what I need. Maybe I need to eat the heart from your deer to give me some sort of, sort of mojo or something that'll turn it back around. Maybe that's what it'll take, or maybe that'll be the bad luck because it won't be my own harvested deer that I'm eating. I don't know, but trials and tribulations. It is a part of bow hunting. It is a part of everything. But I'm so happy for you to got the deer that you got, especially after what happened with you last season. Wags, happy for him to get the deer that he got, especially in the scenario of how that played out. It's been really cool, and to think that's just bow hunting.
Yeah.
There's gun hunting still now, and there's still more opportunities for more deer, and there's opportunities for you to harvest your animals no matter where you live. If it's Wisconsin or we are, it's Minnesota, or as seasons start to open up down south, it's here. It's hunting time, and it's really cool, and it's friends and family and camaraderie, and that's what I hope we've brought through this entire show, this entire long speech of everything, is the feeling of camaraderie and having you a part of this. By listening to the show, you are a part of this camaraderie in this community, and we're glad that you're here and hope that you continue to come back. If there's any you missed previously, great conversation we had a couple weeks ago with Jeff Gustafson, Gussie. And that was before he went to Australia and did some fishing, catching some barra or barramundi, as his friend Carl Jacobson would say. And I'm following along his journey after talking was really cool. So go check out that conversation with Gussie. If you did happen to harvest a buck and you're looking for some way to cook venison, great episode. Just our last one talking with Allie Doran of Everyday Venison, the best-selling book that she put out. She is awesome and has a lot of really cool stuff in that episode too. So you can check it all at any time. And until next time, for Wags, Tasker, I'm Ritter. This is Tailgate Talk.